Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. Well, it's almost Halloween, and one of my favorite things about being in ministry was always student ministries' Halloween parties. We've planned a ton of them and had a ton of fun over the years, and as we've done that, one of my favorite games was the game where we would mummify a leader. So we would take TP, right, and we would set students up in different groups, and we'd give them a whole bunch of rolls of toilet paper, and then we'd say go, and they'd try to wrap their leader as fast as they could, and the team that finished first won. But what I would often do is I'd give, 4 of the 5 teams the one ply toilet paper that rips at one square or 2 squares. So as they're trying to wrap, it keeps ripping and they just can't get it done. And then I'd give one team the really nice stuff, the Charmin, the kind of stuff the bears use in the woods, right? And they would just start wrapping their leader and just fly through it. And then they'd be done and everybody would be disappointed, but then they'd be happy when I gave everybody candy, right? Because it's Halloween. So today we're actually talking about mummies. See, mummies, actually, there is a story about a mummy in the Bible. And now it's not necessarily mummies the way that we picture it today, right? This guy or girl is walking around all half mostly dead, but walking. No, the story in the Bible is about Lazarus. And we're going to walk through that story quick because it's weird, it's supernatural, but there's a lot of lessons we can learn for our life. And so mummification isn't necessarily something new or unique to the Bible. When they uncover, Egyptian folks and whatnot, it was a normal process of burying the dead back then. They would wrap people in strips of linen with different perfumes and different other fluids and oils and things like that. And that was what they did with their dead. But the story in the Bible is unique because mummies, the mummification process was people that stayed dead. And the story of Lazarus is a guy who didn't stay dead. And so what we're going to talk about, we're going to dive into it. John 11, we're going to take a look at that because it has a lot of life application for us. So it's a long story, so I'm going to fly through it and then I'll get to some of the applications. So at one point in the Bible, it talks about it again in John 11, that Jesus finds out that his friend Lazarus has died. Well, actually, he finds out that he's sick first. And he feels bad about it, but he doesn't rush out to save him. And then he and his disciples are having a conversation about Lazarus. They know Lazarus. And he says, hey, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep. And one of the disciples says, well, great. I mean, he'll get a good rest, and then he'll feel better afterwards because he's been sick, right? And Jesus says, no, not fallen asleep. He's dead. And then Jesus says something really weird. He says, you know what? I'm actually glad that I didn't go before, that I didn't go when he was just sick. We're going to go now after he's dead. And the disciples are kind of like, what the heck? This is weird. He said, you know what? Why? You want to know why? Because even among you, I'm not sure that you all believe that I am who I am. See, I think you guys all think that I'm a good person, that I can heal some people. You've seen that, but you don't really know that I am who I am. So when Jesus shows up, the 2 sisters, Mary and Martha, at different times, they tell Jesus, they kind of complain to Jesus. And they're like, what the heck? You could have come here earlier. Why were you not here? He said, do you not believe who I am? Oh, of course we do. Yeah, you're the Messiah. He's like, yeah, but I still think you think I'm just a guy that can heal sick people or make people who are blind see. He said, I'm going to actually go and I'm going to raise your brother. They're like, no, he's been dead 4 days. Don't move that stone. It's going to be awful. Jesus stops and he prays. He says, God, help me. Help me show these people why you sent me. And then they move the stone and he calls to Lazarus. And it says in John 11, 43 through 44, it says, he came out wrapped in linen head to toe. And this is the mummy, right? I picture Lazarus, he was just dead. And he's in a tomb where it's dark. And he comes out kind of from dark into light feeling. And I think that's where we get this idea of a guy wrapped in linen, right? Walking, feeling. Lazarus was potentially the first mummy that walked. And I tell you that because there's so much we can learn from this weird. I've never experienced somebody who was dead walk. I've never seen a real mummy. So it's weird. It's supernatural. But there are still things we can capture that apply to our lives out of something that maybe we've never experienced. So the first one is, when you're facing difficult times, give it to God. Jesus did. He paused when he first heard Lazarus was sick and also before he called Lazarus out, and he asked God for help. The second thing is to trust God's timing. See, if Jesus would have gone earlier, 4 days earlier, then people would have just continued to think he just could heal some sick, which they've seen him do. But God had a bigger plan. Third, what I hope that, our whole faith is built on this. The third thing is that Jesus has power over death. This is the moment where Jesus says, look, I am who I say I am, and you should believe that. But the way that stacks onto the very next point, and this is my favorite part of this whole lesson, is that in John 11, 45 through 48, it says that many people who were there, all the people would come to basically the funeral and to console Mary and Martha. What they saw helped them believe. They experienced it. And so one of my key takeaways from this story is for you and I in our faith is that people didn't believe who Jesus was because of what people told them. They needed to experience it to believe it. And so as you go and live out your faith, be sure to be sharing your experience, the difficulties, the struggles, the things that God has shown you and the lessons you've learned. Share those life experiences with others. And also sit with other people in their life experience, because people need to experience God in order to believe.